Om Gama Ganeshaya Namah. Hello, dear friends. Hope everyone is doing fine. Today, this video is basically about understanding the marital promise of a native, from a female native. It's a part three of Stree Jataka video of my, I've given two videos on Stree Jataka. This is the third one. And this basically speaks about the denial, divorce, delay of a female native and the promise of a marriage also. Now, there are a few sutrams which I will be trying to explain to everyone. Through the same, a native can understand why there is a marital disharmony in the particular chart. Here we see in this particular desktop, there is a particular chart. And before start the sutrams, I want to set the context. As you know, the seventh house is the house of marriage, and the particular, in Nadi we take Mars as the husband Karaka, but in Vedic it is Jupiter. The seventh lord is also the one which is looked for the marriage part. The particular Saturn is the seventh lord who has gone to the fifth house. This lady is 37 years old, and Saturn is aspecting his own house. Okay, but there is no marriage. Even if through Nadi we see that Venus and Mars are in trine, Ketu is not aspecting Mars directly trine. But even after that, there is no marriage. Okay, this is chart number one. The chart number two is of our Chief Minister, Sri Mamata Banerjee. Now, this particular chart is from Mr. P.V. Narasimha Rao. So, I take this as authentic chart. You see, the seventh house has got a Jupiter, although retro, but exalted in the seventh house. And the seventh lord, who is Moon, is also exalted. In spite of that, Mamata Banerjee never married. So what is the reason behind it? Let's try to understand, and then I will again come back to this particular the chart, and then I will explain how to see the promise of a female that there is a marriage in the chart. How to understand whether the lady will be getting married or not. I will be talking about the Nari principle first. So if Venus and Mars are in mutual association through 1 4, that means Mars fourth aspect to Venus, 5 9 7, and further Jupiter is strong, marriage is promised and it is assured. Okay, so that means what it means to say that if Venus and Mars are 1 5 9 and 7 to each other, and also 4 from Mars to each other, and Jupiter is also strong in the chart, then definitely the promise of the female Jataka for a marriage is certainly there. But if Venus and Mars are not connected in 1 5 7 and 9 to each other, or Mars is in 8th house, or Mars and Saturn dual drishti is in 7th house, and Venus Jupiter both are weak, it can give denial of very delay marriage. That means if Venus and Mars are not in the trine, they are in the Kendra to each other, or 6 8 to each other, or even if Mars is there in the 8th house, certainly this is any chart I have seen Mars in the 8th house for a female, especially. This is a very big problem in terms of the marriage. It delays the marriage. Or the Mars and the Saturn dual drishti. Both the Mars and the Saturn are giving drishti to the seventh house, and Venus and Jupiter both are weak. Why? Because Venus is the karak of marriage. Also, even for the female, also the karak of marriage is Jupiter only. And Jupiter, as per the Nari, it is as per the Vedic, it is the karak of husband. So if they are also weak, then certainly it can give a denial or a very delay in marriage, or even a divorce. Even if the lady is married, it can give a divorce or a separation. Not a good, happy marital life. If the seventh lord with any planet get lost in a planetary war, So imagine the seventh lord is getting lost in a planetary war with another planet or totally combusted. And eight as malefic based, it can give widowship in the Dasha Bhukti of the second lord or the Marka when it take place. So that means if the seventh lord is lost in a planetary war and the eighth has also got a malefic, it can give widowship, early widowship. If Mars is connected to Ketu in trine, or Venus Ketu Mars, or Mars Ketu Venus in the successive signs, even it can give separation if Jupiter is weak and not aspecting Mars, or the seventh house, or the Darakaraka, or Jupiter is not placed in the ninth house. In the ninth house, if Jupiter is placed, then wisdom take part. Even if there is a marital disharmony, somehow there is a wisdom. There is a wisdom of carrying forward this marriage or a engagement of a senior in the relationship to so that the marriage can continue take place. So that means if Ketu, the separation Karaka, is entwined to Mars and Venus, or Mars, Ketu, and Venus are in successive signs, and Jupiter is also weak, then certainly this can also create a disharmony or even a divorce in a marriage. If Venus and the Navamsha seventh lord is debilitated in the D9 and D1 has Saturn Drishti in the seventh house, then a denial of marriage is possible. So if Venus and the Navamsha seventh lord, I will show some example, is debilitated in the D9 and D1 has Saturn Drishti in the seventh house, then also there is a denial of marriage is possible. The malefic in the seventh house, sixth sutram, the malefic in the seventh house with no planet in the ninth house. Lagna Lord and Saturn is in the 10th house, or Saturn Ketu Mars are connected, conjuncted, or in trine, or the combination of Rahu and Venus, where Rahu is higher degree and Venus is lower degree in the same house, or second house has got Rahu and the first house has got Venus. That means the successive house has got Rahu from Venus. It can also give no marriages. This is eligible for both male and female. Remember, if Lagna Lord and Saturn are there together in the 10th house, it is a yoga called Sannyasi Yoga. If Saturn, Ketu, and Mars are in trine, then also it creates a yoga called Langoti Yoga. If Saturn, Mars, and Ketu aspect the seventh house, seventh is the house of our, the desires, the carnal desires, the marital desires, the sexual desires, and the desires related. So if there is a aspect of these malefic planets, or if the Lagna Lord and the Saturn are there in the 10th house, even 4 5 planets together in the seventh house or any house. Finally, if Rahu and Venus are connected to each other in the same house, or Rahu is in the second house to Venus, then certainly this can give no marriages or a very short marriage or a very problematic marriage for a female Jataka. And the last Sutrams is basically if malefics are there in the second or the seventh or in the Upapada Lagna or Upapada is in Papka 3, then also the marital harmony is lost or there can be a denial. So let us now see few charts. So the first sutram says what you need to look for the chart. You need to see whether Venus and Mars, as for the Nadi principle, will give you the first cut information whether the lady has got the promise of marriage or not. If Venus and Mars are in trine to each other, if Venus and Mars are together in the chart, Jupiter and along with that, Jupiter is also strong wherever it can be, but it is strong. Or Jupiter is aspecting the seventh house, then the marriage can take place. If Mars and Venus are not in trine, not in opposite to each other, they're not connected to each other, and further, or maybe there is a Ketu, Mars and Venus combination happening in a trine, then also there is a problem. Then there can be a problem in terms of the marriage. Mars in the eighth house creates delay. It's a very big Mangalic yoga. Mars in the eighth house is a widowship yoga. It can create delay, denial, even death of your husband. So that is one thing, like, I have seen with any charts having Mars in the eighth house, especially for female, there is a big delay or problem in the marriage. If Saturn, Mars, and Ketu are in trine or together, or maybe Saturn, Mars are together, Ketu in the second house, from Saturn and Mars, they are making a combination. Or the seventh house got the aspect of the Saturn, Mars, and Ketu. Or the Lagna Lord and the Saturn are sitting on the 10th house. These are the sannyasi yoga. So even if this type of person get married, they are like, they will not have that great interest in the marital life. Some say even moon in the 10th house also creates a problem because the person is more concerned about the work and those kind of thing, not interested in the family life. So these are the combination which mainly you need to see the sutrams which I have explained. And lastly, the one, like, this Jamini Sutrams, which I have seen, like, in terms of understanding the marital life of a Jatak, the Upapada Lagna is to be seen. Now, Upapada Lagna, the calculation which I consider is of Kane Rao sir, and also Sitaram Jha has also explained the same. I just take the 12th house, and from the 12th house, wherever the planet is, I count the number of houses and I take that as the Upapada. So, in that case, if the second house from the Upapada or in the Upapada, there are malefic based, or in the seventh house from the Upapada, the malefics are based, it can create problem regarding to the marriage or even no marriages. So, this is a chart. This is a chart of a particular individual. Now, you see why this lady married twice, and both the time there were legal issues. This lady, well, like, the first husband, there were some legal issues, like, the lady went to the police and had some issues, and like, those kind of thing. Second marriage she did, and again also with that husband also there were some like, some legalities problem came up after 4 5 years, even after the childbirth. So here we see few things. We try to understand why this has happened. You see, Venus is exalted, and it is sitting with the seventh lord, which is debilitated but having the Nij Bhanga. But the entire combination has got the affliction of Rahu. And in the seventh house, there is Ketu based. Ketu shows our disinterest. Wherever Ketu is based, it shows that that particular house, that particular karaka related to those house, we are actually not very interested. We have, like, if some Ketu is there in the 11th house, that kind of person will not be interested in earning money. They will earn money. It's not that they will not earn money. They will earn money, but they will be not very attached to earning money. Money will come to them because in the 11th house, malefics are good. But in the seventh house, if Ketu is based and if it is afflicted, then certainly there can be a problem in terms of the marital life. Even Rahu also. So here we see the particular seventh lord is debilitated, although Nij Bhanga. When we come to the Navamsha, in the Navamsha also we see the seventh lord, as per the Sutrams, is debilitated. So from both the round, we are seeing that the seventh lord is debilitated. If you see here, we find that Mars is also connected with Ketu in the trine, and Mars and Saturn are opposite to each other. If Mars and Saturn are opposite to each other in any person's chart, it shows enmities, problems, like fightings. Some enmities are there in your life. So here we see the combination of Ketu and Mars, seventh lord weaknesses, as well as this particular seventh lord in the Navamsha also getting the debilitation. Now, this is the first chart which I have discussed when we started this video. You see this chart. Now, this is a very interesting chart to understand. See, Mars and Venus, as per the Sutrams of Nadi principle, they are connected to each other in a trine. We in Nadi take the trine. Even in Upapada also, even in Jamini also, even in the Rashi Dasha also, trines are taken. In Tajik also trines are taken. You should always consider the trines. Wherever, whichever chart you see, you should always consider the trines from the planet. Here we see Mars and Venus are connected to each other in a trine. Seventh Lord is aspecting the seventh house. Although we have discussed that the drishti of Shani in the seventh house is not good. But the drishti of Shani only in the seventh house will not make it bad also. Because it is Shani's house only. So that means seventh house is also getting stronger. Now, this lady is 37 years old and she is not married at this point, even now. Why? Now let us understand from a and coming to the Vedic other thing, Jupiter, about the status of the Jupiter. See, Jupiter is with Rahu, so there is an affliction. But if you go by the Laghu Parashari principle, if Rahu is based in the trine with the disposital lord or a lord of the Kendra, it makes Rahu as a Yoga Karaka. So it is improving Rahu, but it is deteriorating Jupiter. So that is there. Mars is a secondary Karaka as per Nari. Mars is there in his own house. Mars is strong. Mars is exalted. Not exalted, Mul Trikona in the 10th house, where he finds a great strength. Mars is also aspecting the 7th Lord, Shani. Even everything is done, but the lady is not mad. Why? Let us understand from here. You see, we'll try to see the chart from Upapada Lagna. This is Gemini, the 12th house. Mercury is basically based in the 9th house from the 12th house. Simply what you need to do, you just need to count it. If you count it, you will find Libra as the Upapada Lagna of this Jataka. Now, as per the Sutrams, if the second house from the Upapada there is a malefic, if the seventh there is a malefic, or if it is in the Papkatri, then there is a denial of marriage or no marriage. Here the Upapada Lagna is Libra, the second is having the Shani, the seventh is having the Mangal, and the 12th is having Ketu. It makes Papkatri as well as the seventh also afflicted. Hence, as of now, there is no marriage. There's a denial at this point of time. So there is no marriage. This is of Mamta Banerjee. You see, the biggest question is that seventh lord is exalted, Jupiter is exalted. Although it is said that if the planet is retro and then exalted, it acts as a debilitation, but it is there in the seventh house. Okay, so it is not. It has she has not got the marriage. Why? First of all, you see the promise, how to go about the chart. The Venus and the Mars you have to see. From the Venus, the Mars is fourth house. So that means it is not in trine, not connected, nothing. So from the Venus, the Mars is the seventh house, like the fourth house. So as per the Sutrams, it is not connected. Rahu in the second house from Venus, or Rahu with Venus, where Rahu is higher degree, is also a denial of marriage. Here also it is meeting the principle. Last thing, Mars, Ketu, and Shani. Shani is exalted. Mars, Ketu, and Shani in a trine makes it as a Langoti Yoga. The Lagna Lord with Shani in the 10th house, or even Shani in the 10th house alone can also trigger, because from the 10th house it aspects the 7th house. So basically, this particular combination, Langoti Yoga combination, is also present in the chart. So three denials we have got from this chart, and Mamta Banerjee has not married. So this is how you should see a chart, and this is how you should understand the promise of a Jataka. Now, what to do if the promise is not there? What to do if the malefics are there? Remember the Mangal dosha. People say about based on Mangal only. Now, if we go to this particular chart, here Mangal is in the third house. Mangal in the third house is bad for siblings, but not for marriage. What you need to see for a Mangal dosha is basically from the Lagna, from Moon, and from Venus. So from all the three round the corner, Mangal is in the third house. So it is not a Mangalic dosha, but this lady got married twice, twice divorced, twice legal cases, and twice harassment, and this and that. Why? So you see, it is not only Mangal dosha which can destroy a marriage, and it is only not Mangal who can destroy a marriage. Malefics in the first house, second house, fourth house, seventh house, eighth house, and 12th house. Wherever, like, if the malefics, like when we talk about malefics, it can be Shani, it can be Sun, it can be Rahu Ketu, it can be Mars. Everyone, although Mars has got the highest potency, it will create problems in marriage. What to do? What is the solution? The solution is to do a thing called Dosha Samyam. If the similar problems are present in the other person's chart, that matching needs to be done, and marriage can progress in that kind of a relationship. There will be no problem. It is there in the sloka of BPHS and Stree Jataka. If a person has got Mars in the 12th house, Lagna, 7th house, 8th house, 4th house, Stree Jataka for a female, it can create widowship. Same is to be considered for a male Jatak if Mars is there present. So the how to it is mentioned by Parashara that these kind of ladies to be married to the person who is having the similar kind of a problem of placement. So that means it clearly says that whatever is the Mangal dosha in the chart, every person will have a malefics placed here or there, either in the first house, second house, fourth house, seventh house, eighth house, or 12th house. So if it is balancing, I have a dosha samyam video in my list. If anyone wants, they can see. So if marriage is done with that gentleman who is having a similar kind of a problem, then the marriage can sustain. Otherwise, there will be certainly problem. This is about the understanding the promise of a female chart, the marriage promise, why marriage is not happening. These seven sutrams, if you follow, you will have the results with you, and you can understand where the problem is and what to do. Okay, so thank you, my friends, and please, I don't say it anywhere, but I think these are all tutorials and will be a help to people. So if possible, if you like my video, please share my video, and that's it. So that's it. And so people should get the real, what is the the authentic, the Jyotish is saying. Based on that, you should predict and you will get the answer. It is purely science. Okay, so thank you, my friends, thank you very much. Have a nice day.